U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has said President Donald Trump's target for NATO members to spend 5% on GDP of that on defense has to happen. He made the comments in Brussels ahead of a meeting of defense ministers from the alliance on Thursday. There's increasing pressure on countries to up their defense spending following the invasion of Ukraine.
Every country has to contribute at that level of 5% as a recognition of the nature of the threat. It can't be about the flags that we love. It has to be about the formations that we have. It's that hard power that actually deters. And it can't just be U.S. capabilities. So the United States is proud to be here, to stand with our allies, but our message is going to continue to be clear. It's deterrence and peace through strength, but it can't be reliance. It cannot and will not be reliance on America in a world of a lot of threats.
Let's go straight over to our bureau chief in Brussels, Alexandra from Nahmen. Alexandra, NATO member states are under huge pressure from Washington. What's expected to come out of this meeting of defense ministers today?
Well, Terry, we expect the defense ministers today to sign off on those new military capability targets for NATO. Mark Rutte, the NATO Secretary General, already described them as historic. Those targets define how many soldiers, ammunition, long-range weapons, tanks, every nation is willing and obliged to provide to NATO. And we are speaking here about an increase of 30%. And of course, this is to deter Russia. But it also means that NATO countries will need to spend more on defense to buy and produce those weapons. And there is a proposal on the table put forward by Mark Rutte. He wants allies to spend 3.5% on military hardware, and in addition he wants them to spend 1.5% on security-related infrastructure, bridges, roads, but also cybersecurity, for instance. What is exactly in this category still needs to be defined, but this way Mark Rutte is hoping to meet the U.S. demand for allies to spend up to 5% of GDP on defense related infrastructure and, of course, on military equipment altogether.
German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius is also in Brussels, of course, and addressed the upgrades needed for the German military. Let's hear some of what he had to say.
We are assuming that we need around 50 to 60,000 more soldiers in the standing armed forces than we have today. But this is only an estimate. At the same time, the question will arise naturally, will the new military service be sufficient over the next few years? And I can only repeat over and over again, conscription is of no use to us, because we don't have the capacity either in the barracks or in training.
Alexander, what should we make of what we just heard there? Is Germany ready to take on a bigger role in NATO?
I would say that's definitely the case, judging from what Boris Pistorius had to say and what he announced. It, of course, in line with what the government has been saying from day one. Just remember that Germany's Chancellor Friedrich Merz said in an address to the German parliament that Germany wants to build the strongest army in Europe. They reformed the constitutional debt, break this mechanism to limit government borrowing. They want to spend more money on defense. They want to supercharge Germany's military. They also want to invest much needed money in Germany's infrastructure. But the problem is, of course, that still it's going to cost a lot of money. And that is something that Boris Pistorius also spoke about here this morning, saying that spending 3% on defense would mean 125 billion euros every year for Germany. And as we just heard, he also mentioned that Germany would need 50 to 60,000 additional troops to meet the capability targets of NATO. And this really meets that need that Germany would need to do more to recruit more soldiers. And we will see whether that will be possible with a voluntary recruitment program.
Alexandra, thank you very much. That was our Brussels Bureau Chief, Alexandra von Nahmen.
Thank you.